AEW Full Gear 2024 is what we are going to be reviewing right now. Show that happened on November 23, 2024 from the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. A good show. A very good show on top of that. Delivered on most levels. I think that we had more good things happening on the show than the opposite. Again, like, just continues to prove that you cannot bet against an AEW pay-per-view. Now, is this one of the greatest pay-per-views that AEW has put on of all time? No, but then AEW has put on some of the greatest pay-per-views of all time. So the bar is extremely high. So if I'm telling you, well, I don't know if this is I don't think this is one of their best, this is still a very good show, even though it is not one of their best. This is a really, really, really good professional wrestling show that had some tremendous action on it, and some tremendous action, great surprises, super bold booking. It's almost as if they decided to look at all the things that WarrenHayes likes about pro wrestling, about a pro wrestling pay-per-view, and just slap them all together, and then they came up with this. It's as if it was made for me. And moving forward, I'm gonna consider that Full Gear 2024 was made for me, and I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem pushing that narrative. It actually, I like to think of myself as more important than I am. So why don't we just go with that? This was the WarrenHayes. This was the WarrenHayes pay-per-view. I think it's a good little way to go about it. So how about the business of AEW Full Gear? Oh, geez, I'm glad you asked. 10,094 tickets distributed, according to WrestleTix. I'm recording this on November 24th. So the last update we got from WrestleTix was from the day of Saturday, the 23rd. That's where we were at. But there was probably still room to grow, as people in the comments were pointing out, that certain sections that had been closed off were now open, so on and so forth. So the number is probably a little higher than that. Maybe inching close to 11,000. We'll have to see in the next couple of days. But how did this compare to the last time AEW came to the Prudential Center? Well, I'm glad you asked that as well. Last time the AEW came to the Prudential Center, it was earlier this year in January, at the start of the year. 5,924 tickets had been distributed for that one. So one of the best gates for a TV taping this year, unquestionably, for AEW. So that's good, and some good attendance, some very good attendance for the pay-per-view this time around. Last year for Full Gear, which was in the Kia Forum, AEW distributed 12,904 tickets. So we're a little under that, but nonetheless, this is a good attendance for the show and for AEW in general. I mean, you can look. What can you say about running a show that is not like, 2/3 empty? It gives an entirely different vibe. Like, the audience for this show added so much, and they were, for the most part, very into it. But and it kind of felt like a wrestling show should feel, and it just puts even more emphasis on how dire some of the TV tapings feel in these big arenas, these big basketball arenas, and so on and so forth. These 15,000, 18,000 seat arenas, 20,000 seat arenas that are bringing in less than 3,000 people. The mood here was good. The vibe was good. It felt good. And the show itself profited from that. I think the show had a distinct advantage on that front as well. It was just tremendous. Like, I hate to be that guy, but this could be AEW every week. And it's crazy how TV struggles, the TV tapings struggle to get people into the buildings, are struggling to get 3,000 people seated in those buildings these days. um, struggles to, make a true impact on the ratings, right? Ratings are what they are. They're fine. That's one thing that we don't necessarily talk about. I like to talk about other performance indicators. Ratings are what they are, but it's crazy when you look at the show, which is full of great pro wrestling, good to great pro wrestling. Oh, there's a couple of little, swimmies and whatever. It's fine. We'll get to those. But overall, like a show that delivered on the wrestling front. And then we're going to go back to TV and we're going to be doing other stuff, right? We're going to be trying to do other things. We're going to try to do stories and vignettes and all this stuff. And we're having trouble getting people, we have trouble convincing the ticket buying audience to buy tickets to the show to the tapings, the TV tapings, whereas the pay-per-views never seem to be much of an issue. And why is that? Well, like we say here, consumer confidence is clear that the pay-per-views always seem to be a safe bet. And somehow the TVs are sort of, people back away from the week to week TV. And why is that? Well, the only thing I can point my finger to and say, well, this is the reason why, is that you let your pro wrestlers go out there and have great pro wrestling matches and not let themselves get bogged down by, any other type of sports entertaining nonsense. Because tonight, there were multiple opportunities. When I say tonight, I mean last night, the show. There were multiple opportunities for finishes to involve screwy interference finishes, but they shied away from that. There were multiple occasions that outside interference would have absolutely been a thing, but they didn't do it. They let the wrestlers go. We had clean finishes on most matches. It's just wild like that. You let your wrestlers wrestle. You let your wrestlers do top wrestler things. And then suddenly, you get people invested in your show that get excited for the show and just want to get excited for what you do. And then they'll be like, yeah, we're going to pay money to see this because it's a great show. Why isn't it the case on the week to week? There are multiple reasons for this. And I think one of them is, just getting bogged down into nonsense, into sports entertainment bullshit that a lot of us wanted to flee from and now has returned or has arrived in AEW, and it's been there for a while now, and ends up sometimes giving AEW the perception that it's just WWE light. There's nothing that really differentiates it. And if you want the sports entertainment, well, you're going to go with the guys who've been doing it for the better part of 30 years at this point, 40 years, and who are the market leader and who will do it better than this company here. And the one thing that this company does better than the other company is what we got at Full Gear: pro wrestling matches. That it's just as simple as that, with satisfying finishes, compelling matches, great performances. That's it. Why don't we go right ahead and start reviewing it? We'll do our usual thing. We'll start from the tippy top, from the main event, and we'll work our way down. We'll see how it goes, because there's a lot of stuff sprinkled throughout. Why don't we go with them? So there we go. Jon Moxley defeated Orange Cassidy to retain the AEW World Championship. I was kind of down on this on the build to this match, right? And here's the thing: is like when I talk about AEW Dynamite on a week to week basis, and I'm talking about how the build to the pay-per-view doesn't feel as exciting, doesn't feel good, that there's stuff that clearly we're missing the boat on or whatever. Yeah, I'm not, unless I'm saying it specifically, I'm not talking about the quality of the match, unless I'm talking about the quality of the match where you put two people together and I'm like, well, this is going to stink. I don't think I ever said Jon Moxley versus Orange Cassidy is going to be a bad match. I think that was preposterous, but I did rag on the build. Why? Because the build gets you excited for the match. The build, especially when it comes to your main event match, that should be the one that draws people to plunk down money to come see your show or buy it on pay-per-view. And I thought the main event build wasn't particularly good. I thought it's over the past couple of weeks, I think there was a time where it was really interesting, but it really did fall off, exposed a lot of weaknesses. I thought it was a little all over the place. It didn't get the juices flowing. You know, to a point where I was like, I don't know how good this this show is going to do. You know, clearly people turned out. You know, where we got over 10,000 tickets distributed, so clearly people showed up anyway. I'm excited to see what it's going to do in regards to pay-per-view buys. Are we going to be adding more people here than the usual range that AEW pay-per-views fall into? Well, you know, we'll see how all that goes. This is just a sidebar. Coming back to the match, I never said, despite the fact that I thought the build was kind of shitty, I thought this match was going to deliver. And quite frankly, I kind of feel like this match over delivered my expectations. The last time that Cassidy and Moxley fought each other was really good, and I really enjoyed it, and I really liked this one as well. I liked this match tremendously, with this story that they were telling that Orange Cassidy's greatest attribute is his heart. It's his determination. Like, Mox can swing at him with everything he's got as much as he wants all the time, but Orange Cassidy will continue coming back. He'll come back for more. He'll ask for more, and you can't really. You're going to have to work really hard to put the man down, kind of thing. So Orange Cassidy bleeds early on when Mox is brutalizing him at the start of the match, throws him into the stairs, if I'm not mistaken, and that's where Orange Cassidy bleeds. And we already know that Orange Cassidy he's a fantastic bleeder. So we get the proper crimson mask, you know, and with the blonde hair and everything. It was just, you know, just more tremendous visuals for this match, and you know, the mat gets stained. And here's something cool as well. The entirety of the pay-per-view had been bloodless, which is not necessarily something you see all that often in AEW. You know, there have been pay-per-views where there was 2, maybe 3 matches in it that had some blood involved, voluntarily, of course, I mean. And here we kept it for the main event. Here we made sure no one else ran the razor until the main event, and I think that helped. I think it was a good idea. There's probably some guys that lobbied to get some color in their match, and whoever put their foot down and said, nope, this is not happening, we're keeping it for the main event, was a good call. And you know, like, the story here is just how brutal and vicious Mox is, and how much he's enjoying it too. Like, there's this part of this incarnation of Mox that is tremendous, in which he takes an enormous amount of pleasure just beating up and hurting people, his opponents specifically. And this really did come through, where, you know, he never really seemed taken aback, except, you know, towards the final stretch of the match, where there were no moments when Orange Cassidy was like, you know, on his knees bleeding and you know, gesturing to him and said, bring it on, give me what you got, kind of thing. There wasn't any moment where Mox was sort of like looking around surprisingly, like, the hell am I supposed to do? No, he's like, okay. And he'd just wail on him, right? He'd just jab him. He'd kick him. He'd keep working at him throughout the entire match, and he just enjoyed it, right? And they go on the floor and they're doing stuff on the floor. Mox is doing a lot of biting, and he's covering him, getting covered in Cassidy's blood in the meantime. And OC, like, he has to try and go for the eyes. He starts gouging the eyes. He's ready to play dirty too, and I appreciate that. That also setting up for the finish as well. But we also know that Orange Cassidy is not above taking a shortcut. In fact, most of Orange Cassidy's wins happen via shortcut. It happened just this week or last week on Dynamite, which is how he won against Wheeler Yuta. I don't know if you'd call it a shortcut as opposed to like a surprise win. Maybe that's more what I'm talking about. But he does take shortcuts sometimes. Like, he's not above using some nefarious schemes to get to the win. Orange gets these. He gets these hope spots, and boy, do they just come crashing down. Moxley anti-airing Cassidy at some point, just straight out of the air. Just fantastic stuff. They have a strike battle at some point. Orange Cassidy does the shin kicks and does the orange punch and does the Cazadora finish that he did on Wheeler Yuta with the cross-legged roll-up, but Mox gets out. He lands a beach break. And that's when Claudio and Pac arrive. And then the conglomeration will arrive as well to sort of even out the odds. And then we get the first, I think, real deal physicality, or at least counter physicality on Marina Shafir when Willow Nightingale runs out and takes her down in a huge reaction from the crowd. That was expertly built, by the way. That was just really, really well built, where Marina had just been coming in, punking out everyone, guys, and, just being the silent, destructive killer. And the woman who comes in to sort of equalize this is Willow, because no one had gotten the upper hand on Marina Shafir so far. So Willow comes out to do it, and boy, that tremendous reaction and a good place for Willow, who seems to be cleared from her concussion that she suffered couple of weeks ago at CMLL, so that's also good news. So throughout all this nonsense, Orange Cassidy has the briefcase in his hands, and he cracks it. He cracks it, I should say, across Jon Moxley's head while the referee is distracted by all the nonsense happening. But as he settles in to try and get the cover, Wheeler Yuta runs in out of nowhere. He was not with the rest of the Death Riders, so for some reason he wasn't, but he comes in through the audience and Busaiku knees Orange Cassidy, which allows Mox to land a Death Rider and get the win. I mean, I enjoyed the match. I thought it was a good finish. I liked the finish. Things obviously got out of control, and Orange Cassidy here used a briefcase to get one up on Moxley, and things might have seemed dire here, and that's why Wheeler ran in. That's why we needed the outside interference to make sure that Moxley didn't get pinned here. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good finish to a really good match, or a great match. I gave it 4 stars. I thought this was expertly done, really, really well done. A good beat down story, good bloody angle throughout. I really liked it. I really speaking of angles, afterwards they pour liquid cleaner onto Orange Cassidy's wounds and in his mouth, and it's just like, because these guys are complete psychopaths. And this has then Hangman Adam Page coming out hobbling, because he was in a war earlier. We'll get to that in due time. And he's got a chair, and you're not quite sure what he wants to do with it. We're not quite sure what he wants to do with it. And you've got Mox, pointing to his head and said, think about what you're about to do here, Hangman. They're 2 heels. So, Mox is like, okay, I got, think about what you're going to do here. And Hangman sort of, he sort of slinks off, sort of leaves all of this be. You know, maybe he was coming in for something that would have initiated a redemption run, but we're not quite there yet. Maybe, but not quite yet. You know, he took out Wheeler Yuta, right, with the chair. Like, important to point out, he didn't just come in and walk out. He did, like, you know, drive a chair into Wheeler Yuta, but he didn't attack Mox. Then Christian Cage arrives, grabs Moxley, and lands the kill switch on him because he's got the goofy cash in contracts thing. And then you think, well, okay, he's about to do it. You know, that's when Hangman leaves, right? Hangman's like, do whatever you want. I'm done here. And that's when he leaves. But then Jay White runs in to take out Christian Cage, who was about to sign, reminding us of when Jay White came in and said, you know, Christian Cage, when Jay White came back from injury, he had said in a promo, I'm coming after Christian Cage. Christian Cage, I haven't forgotten about you. You injured me, you took me out, kind of thing. That was the thing. And then so he takes out Christian Cage. So there's still no goofy cash-in nonsense happening. So, you know, whatever. But like, this was completely chaotic, right? It's like, this is just stuff happening after this thing is happening, then this thing is happening, then this thing is happening, and finally the Death Riders, they see the opportunity, they hit the powder, they hit the bricks, they take a powder, you take a powder, you hit the bricks. That's how it goes. You know, you can't hit a powder because the powder will just like dissipate. Like, it, you know, it's just like punching air. That wouldn't make sense. Why would you hit powder? There's no reason for that. Hitting a brick, that's something else. That the ergo the expression, right? And you take a powder because you take it with you. I guess. I don't know why taking a powder. Look, we'll figure this out. We'll mix it. We'll do some research and we'll come back regarding the origins of the expression "take a powder" and why does it mean to, you know, run away, escape. Get the hell out of Dodge. That one I think is pretty clear. I think everyone gets that one. Anyway, talk about a useless little sidebar here. But the Death Riders go back and they go for their car, and then you have a car run in and crashes into the pickup truck that they had arrived in, just like completely T-bones it, right? And they're like, oh my God. So they steal a car and they leave. And you know, commentary is like, oh, who I wonder who did that? Who T-boned the car? And the car is like covered in skulls. It's like airbrushed in skulls everywhere. It's like, well, we all know who it is. Like, this is not, you know, the car is designed to look like something Darby Allin would drive. So there you go. Darby Allin was the driver of the car. He comes out and he started screaming at Mox and the Death Riders and whatnot. So, chaotic finish to the main event. That's already setting up a lot of stuff for World's End. I would be confident in saying that the main event for World's End, based out of what we got here, is going to be a multi-man match. I think it's going to be a 4-way. With the way things had been set up here, we're going to have Jon Moxley versus Christian Cage versus Hangman Adam Page versus Jay White. I think that's the thing that's going to happen here. And then it starts to make even more sense as to why they had made Jay White a babyface, because right now you've got 3 heels in this match in the setup. If this is indeed what they're going with, and then there's Darby on the outlier, right? There's Darby who's still the outlier in all of this. So he might be, you know, the guy to like go after the title after World's End. Going into, but what would that lead us into Revolution then? Is this your Revolution main event? Is that a big enough main event? Maybe, because I felt whatever Darby was doing with the Death Riders was a lot more compelling than what Orange Cassidy had been doing. So there's probably ways to ignite this and make it alive, make it thrive even more and build even hotter. So, we might be jumping the gun a little bit on this one, but I feel like that sort of feels like the plan. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, it really does feel like a 4-way match that we're getting at World's End, which doesn't tickle my fancy. It doesn't tickle anything actually on me. Not just my fancy. It doesn't tickle me at all. Like there's nothing in. I'm not a fan of multi-person matches for your titles. Just build a contender, right? Just build a contender, 1-on-1. That's just me. But I thought the angle at the end was fun. It was chaotic. Kind of what it should feel with the Death Riders, right? But the match I thought was really good. I thought it was a great little match, great little main event. And there was one really great convincing near fall. That where Mox got his shoulder up like at the very last possible moment, right? Like Shinsuke Nakamura levels of 2.9 and that kind of, just absolutely brilliant the way he had done it where because I bit and I was like, wait, they're not doing this. They're not giving the title to Orange Cassidy. This doesn't make sense, but it was so close that I bit and that's all you can really hope for. I thought it was really good. Enjoyed it tremendously, even though the build wasn't all that great. Bobby Lashley defeated Swerve Strickland in a really good, really fun fight in which that told a story that needed to be that told the story that needed to be told here. That Bobby Lashley is, as his nickname implies, almighty. He's just a huge dude, powerhouse that can overrun his competition, even top guys in this company, even former world champions don't stand a chance against this guy. And I think that was a bold bit of booking to have him. Not like, we're not going to call this a squash. We're not going to be facetious and call this a squash because it was not a squash. But this was him exerting dominance over Swerve, who is absolutely a top guy, right? With this entrance that he has now, the camera angle, the pyro and all that. Like, who are the dopes who are saying that AEW doesn't treat Swerve Strickland like someone important in the company? Who are these weirdos? Who are these weirdos? You need to point them out to me because it's a demonstrably bad take, and it's one that has been around for I think since he won the AEW championship, and it's something that people still harp on. But I swear to God, these are people who don't watch the show, because you cannot be watching AEW Dynamite and think that Swerve has been relegated back down to, eating chips with Hook, right? On the mid card. Especially not in these types of circumstances. So anyway, the idea here, of course, was to establish Bobby Lashley as a legitimate threat in this company. What better way to do it than to have him fight a super recent former world champion, right? A very recent world champion, and just like demolish him, just like overpower him. Swerve wasn't necessarily ready here. And Lashley, throughout this match, all he did was exude confidence. That's all he did. Just doing stuff, beating him down, and just being very matter of fact about it, as if this was to be expected. What are we doing here? He even did the stalling one-arm suplex, which is great, and he just stays in control. And Swerve's hope spots are immediately quashed. Like, it's such basic pro wrestling booking, yet it is so effective because you have the perfect guys in these spots. This is why, this is again another example of sometimes why I get unnerved at the amount of storytelling that has to happen. And we're going to have a really good example of this a little later on. But this is, you have all these layers of storytelling and whatnot that oftentimes affect matches, or that create weird builds and whatnot. Here, the story couldn't be simpler, and a dominant heel quashing the babyface's hope spots is the most basic way to do it. And you have, like I said, the perfect guys in this spot. So that's why it works. That's why you don't need convoluted storylines, because you're putting the right guys in the right spots and it just connects. It just makes tons of sense. Everything comes together. Swerve has, it's not as if Swerve was, being, it's not as if Lashley was walking the dog with Swerve, though. Swerve has this DDT off the apron and does this great Swerve stomp off the stairs as Bobby Lashley is props himself up on the Spanish commentary table and everything collapses. That was just a tremendous spot. That was just absolutely phenomenal. There's a belly to belly on the floor as well by Lashley. We go through a barricade, take a shot, and then back in the ring, the spear by Lashley and the full Nelson, and Swerve Strickland is out. And I think the ref calls the match. Yeah, either the referee threw the match, or Swerve passed out, or I don't think he tapped. I think that's not the story we're trying to tell here. But man, that was just phenomenal stuff. That truly was phenomenal stuff. I gave this match 3 3/4 stars, and it did exactly what needed to happen. And of course, this feud will continue. And I don't know how anyone thought that it was going to end here. It was tremendous. And look, it's going to continue, because after the match, the Hurt Syndicate went after Prince Nana, and he was locked into the full Nelson as well. So he died. Rip Prince Nana. Yeah, I mean, there you go. Just a tremendous outing by everyone here in this match. It was just it truly was phenomenal. I was very I was expecting something good. And this was actually really, really good. Good job. The right guy went over. The right story that needed to be told was told. And if anyone is worried, I don't know who is, but in case anyone was worried, Swerve is fine. Swerve is fine. You don't have to worry about Swerve. This is how we establish a good, solid feud. This is fine. And everyone, let's just see how all of this goes, but we're on the right track here. And you know what's also been great? Yeah, I have only mea culpas to do here in regards to the Hurt Syndicate joining AEW, because I was not a fan of this decision, but so far this has been a hit. This has been a home run every step of the way. Lashley, MVP, Shelton Benjamin having tremendous TV matches. Where you're like, yeah, it's like put him in the C2. Let's do, this is going to be so far nothing but hits. And you sort of wonder just how personally these guys are taking it, right? If they've got something to prove that they can, that the other guys are missing out, that it was a mistake to say thank you for your services. And if it is, look, a chip on the shoulder can take you a long way. Look at Taz's career. As we keep moving down from the top, Kensuke Takeshita defeated Ricochet to retain the AEW International match. I don't have many thoughts about this match. So I gave it 3.5 stars. Okay. I thought it was I thought it was good and well worked. And I think but ultimately I feel like this match here was the I thought this match was the best mediocre match I have seen in a long time. Where you have two extremely talented dudes getting into the ring and working hard and doing some great stuff. Like, we're not slapping on headlocks every 2 minutes. You know, we're actually doing stuff. We're pulling moves. We're dropping each other on their heads, and you know, we're doing things and fun things. And yet everything just seems to be going through paces. It's like I'm seeing the routine. It's like I'm watching the warm-up to the match, but not the match. There was no gears that were changed here. Like, you want to say about, there wasn't a third gear? I don't even think there was a second gear here. I think what these dudes were going through was just like the most bare bones stuff that they can do, like just to practice, to rehearse. They never got the crowd invested in it, and it sort of plateaued really early, despite the fact that, you know, Ricochet's doing Ricochet things, you know, doing his 450s, doing the poison ranas and the shooting star presses, and Takeshita, he's beating him up. He's doing blue thunder bombs. He's doing the wheelbarrow Germans, and yet this match is not sparking, right? And you can't really put the blame. You can't say, oh, well, tough act to follow, you know, Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay, which is going to be something that people are going to attach to another match, but I've got my own thoughts on that. You can't even blame that. It's 2 matches removed. A segment and 2 matches removed. And this was a match that people were like, yeah, let's fucking go. A match where people were upset when it was announced on social media and not on Dynamite. I was like, this is a great match. And when it was announced, I was like, hell yeah, there you go. I saw people say, okay, I'm buying the pay-per-view now. This is a match I want to watch. And they were unquestionably disappointed. It went 19 minutes, 12 seconds, according to Cage Match. Did it need to go that long? Probably not. I think you shave off some time from the top. And you get a more concise, better, punchier match. Takeshita wins with the Avalanche Falcon Arrow, which seems to be, is this his new finisher? As opposed to the Rampage Fire, the Raging Fire, the whatever he calls it, the spinning suplex. It's a match that happened. And this is not what Ricochet and Konosuke Takeshita should be delivering. Matches that happen. It should not be in their portfolio. It should be great match. Like, that's the floor. Konosuke Takeshita is one of the best professional wrestlers out there right now. He's top 10 in the entire world right now. You could even entertain to argue a top 5 spot with me, and you'd probably end up convincing me fairly easily. Ricochet is Ricochet. And Ricochet is a tremendous pro wrestler. And one of these guys where, you know, everyone feels like, you know, he was never given the time to shine in WWE because Vince didn't want the flippy dudes, right? Well, where is top tier, top level Ricochet? I haven't seen him yet. You know, fine little matches, good little matches on Dynamite. And I was like, okay, well, this is the one, right? This is where he tears the house down, where we remind ourselves, that Trevor is just an absolutely fantastic pro wrestler. Look, I don't know. I don't know exactly what I don't know if I'm ready to completely jump off the Ricochet train, but I I'm not getting any reasons to really stay on it as well, right? And if there's one guy you think a guy like Ricochet would be able to have a top tier match, like one that has people buzzing the next day, it's Konosuke Takeshita. Like, why isn't this match why isn't this match buzzing in my head like Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher is? Like, it doesn't make, like, it feels like a match. It's a matchup that is absolutely in line with that level of match. Like I said, like it's a 3.5 because I think technically speaking, like, everything was fine. Everything looked good. Everything was well executed, but they never got me. They never sucked me in. They never got me to believe. And I don't think the crowd in there, the crowd there was into it as well. And I feel like they were ready for it. Like, I feel, it's one of these matches where it's like, look, the floor is very high. Yeah, let's just move on. Daniel Garcia defeated Jack Perry to become the new TNT champion in a match that I considered to be the worst match of the show. And I don't even know when. I should have checked before doing the review stuff. I don't even know when was the last time I scored a match on an AEW pay-per-view under 3 stars. But this one was it. I thought this match was, if Konosuke Takeshita and Ricochet delivered a mediocre 3.5 star match because, technically what they were doing was still impressive and good, Garcia and Perry was a mediocre match, period, that didn't get anyone going at all. And this is, look, I think there's multiple reasons to this. I think the build was dog shit to this match to begin with. So I don't think anyone is truly invested in it. Like this sudden raging dislike that Jack Perry and Daniel Garcia had for each other was, I never quite got it. I think Jack Perry's shelf life is done for the scapegoat. Like, I really thought that this would be able to carry him for a while. And I was very much a defender of Jack Perry when a lot of people were not. I was like, no, I'd say I don't think his stuff is as bad as people let on. I don't think he's. I think the heel turn was really interesting. I think the heel turn made him given a different direction. I feel like he leaned into it well, but he's just not delivering in ring. It's not making his matches more compelling. It's allowing him to do goofy vignettes where he's getting waterboarded. Well, that's not what waterboarding is, but where he's seemingly about to get tortured in a dang garage somewhere. He gets to drive a bus. He gets to do vignettes late at night, and some, brooding. I heard someone compare him to he's like cosplaying Raven. And I like, even down to the, he's even doing the T-pose. I'm like, yeah, this is pretty much it. Like, I agree. This is kind of like I hadn't thought about it, but now it made sense to me, where it's like, yeah, he's cosplaying Raven, and Raven is such a, when Raven had his really good years, he was such a, it was such a time capsule, right? It's such it was such a gimmick that worked for the time that I don't know if you transpose it to modern day pro wrestling, I don't think it'd work as much. And you're kind of seeing it with what Perry is doing now. So I don't know, like, it's not great. And I thought this was a very sleepy match. You know, they lost the crowd here, in my opinion. And some people will argue, will say, oh, well, they had to follow Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay. Well, yeah, but did they? Because they put a full-blown segment between, just to give some breathing room between the two matches, because they knew Ospreay and Fletcher were going to tear the house down, and so they gave the buffer of the women's the Mariah May's celebration thing, so that people could catch their breath and then get back into being into this match. But look, I know people naturally like Daniel Garcia. I know he's got the babyface energy to him, but but I don't think anyone really cared about it, because I don't think Jack Perry's all that interesting. And Jack Perry at some point in the match offers the TNT title to Garcia, and it's like, come on, hit me, right? Because the last thing that we're talking about in the garage segment with the bus and the crowbar and the bucket of water was, Jack Perry going, you don't have the darkness in you, you don't have what it takes, kind of thing, right? And so this was like him having Garcia confront the reality. Well, do you have it in you or not? And he tossed him the belt, and Garcia refused to do it, because we have to do these things in matches, and it doesn't matter. And it's not compelling. It's not interesting, because none of this has been interesting. Anyway, I don't have many more thoughts. I'm a little disappointed that Daniel Garcia won, because I was of the firm belief that Daniel Garcia, that the best way to get Daniel Garcia over and strap a title on him would have been to have him get into the Continental Classic and have the sports-based story of him redeeming his poor performance from last year with a good performance this year. Maybe one where he starts off losing matches, and then has the big comeback to win the block, kind of thing, right? The Naito storyline for the G1, right? Those of you who know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. You give him the Naito story in the C2, and then he goes to the finals and he faces Kazuchika Okada and he beats Kazuchika Okada for the title. And that's where you pull out the home videos and the call with the mother, all of this stuff, where she says, oh, this is how I raised you, so on and so forth. That's when it becomes much more impactful. And that's where you can really get behind babyface Danny. Because then Danny, he wants to prove himself. He's finally shedding his insecurities about who he is as a pro wrestler, and he focuses on winning, and he gets some big wins in the C2, and he gets Okada, and he's the guy who beats Okada. That's how you build a star, not with the cold as ice TNT title. I don't care that he won it. Now, he declared himself for the C2, right? Nonetheless, I think it's at the press conference, either he or Tony Khan, I don't remember, but said that Daniel Garcia was going to be in the Continental Classic. Now, the fact that he has a title pretty much disqualifies him from getting to the finals or winning the block or whatever. I don't think this is going to be, I don't think this is going to work. I don't think this is going to work as efficiently had they went with my very good idea of having Garcia lose against Jack Perry, but then have the really hot run in the C2 to get people hopeful and excited. Not unlike what they did with Eddie Kingston last year, right? It's kind of like the same thing. I think it's a good spot to build, guys. You really could have done something special and you done screwed up. You messed it up, friends. So, but look, as far as Daniel Garcia being a champion, I'm for it. Don't get me wrong. I'm okay with it. I'm excited to see what kind of run he gets with the TNT title. Maybe it'll return to, maybe it'll be defended more. Maybe it'll stop being, feeling cold. But as for the match itself, I give it 2 3/4 stars. Then, we had the Mariah May celebration thing that happened just before, where she comes out. She's she's introduced by Mina Shirakawa, who has pretty good English, if we're being honest. And she introduces Mariah May. Mariah May comes out, calls her best friend, love of her life, etc., etc. And then they start dancing, and Mariah grabs the bottle of champagne, and she's winding up to crack it across Mina's dome, who is unaware. She's dancing, she's unaware, but then she does a spin move, and then sees Mariah has the bottle, and then Mina just kicks it out of her hand, like this tremendous kick in heels on top of that. And I'm like, okay, this is impressive. I gotta tell you, that was pretty cool. And then Mina spears her off the ramp and through a table. Like they bounced off one table and they crashed through the second one, which could not have felt good. And then Mina's bleeding from the mouth. Probably did a little blood capsule thing, and then starts smearing blood all over Mariah's face, reminiscing the Toni Storm angle. I think it would have been kind of cool to have Mina do a Toni Storm again on Mina, right? Mariah is winding up with the bottle. Mina turns around and whack, just collapses it across her face, right? And then with the blood and everything, because Mariah needs some juice, man. I don't think she's been very good. I think this is and it goes hand in hand with booking. Don't get me wrong, but I think a lot of stuff was fumbled because they expected a lot of Mariah May where she might not have been ready to be in the spots they put her in, with angles and trying to come off as a heel. Early on after she won the title, well, even after the shoe angle, her promos would come across as very contrived, very fabricated, rehearsed, as if she was reading lines. It never felt natural, organic. She may slowly be getting her footing in that role, but as it stands, I don't think her heel turn has been as successful as the angle. I think the angle was all the way up here, and expectations were set very high, which is fine because the angle was tremendous. But then everything after sort of floundered. It's not on the same level as the dichotomy between the two is tremendous. The space between the two is huge. So I'm not sure. Look, we'll see how it goes. She and Mina obviously have chemistry. They were legitimate friends in Stardom. So, this will build to World's End, and we'll see what we can get out of it. But so far, I don't think Mariah May's run as champion in AEW has been remarkable. I don't even think it's been good. So we'll see how this goes. Kyle Fletcher defeated Will Ospreay in an absolutely brilliant piece of business. A tremendous match. It gets physical real early, and it just never lets up. And Kyle Fletcher has a great heat segment where he's going after the neck. He's going after Ospreay's neck, tearing at the tape, and reinforcing, the Tiger Driver 91 injury and all that, and he's doing stuff to his neck. He's working on it. He's Michinoku driving him and so on and so forth. And, you know, to the point where Will tries to do handspring stuff and he just collapses. And he collapses so good. Will is so good at this. He just collapses, right? But, of course, he fights back, does a sky twister, phenomenal forearm. They trade some big strikes. Liger bomb by Fletcher. Will Ospreay tombstones him on the floor. I think they tried to do a little something over the, you know, with the springboard or whatever on the apron. Didn't quite work out, but no one got dropped on their heads. No one got seriously injured. And then there's this sequence of countering. They're just countering out of each other's stuff, and then they start pelting each other. It's just tremendous. Styles clash, hidden blade. Fletcher tombstones Will Ospreay off the apron onto the stairs in a legitimately dangerous move. But they all they pulled it off wonderfully because these guys are beasts and they're pros. Fearless beasts, fearless professional beasts. That's what these guys are. And back in the ring, Fletcher lands this wild pile driver type move on Will Ospreay, and Ospreay is smoked at this point. He's got nothing, and he's trying to strike at Fletcher, and he's standing, but he's leaning onto Fletcher. He's got nothing. He's trying to pull out some strikes, but Fletcher's just like brushing them off, and he just proceeds to dismantle Will Ospreay. It's literally the meme. Oh my God, he's already dead, right? Stop it, he's already dead. But Fletcher has to punctuate this. He has to put an exclamation mark on this. His thing was, I need to get out of your shadow. And he's just dismantling him. And if all of this stuff wasn't bad enough, you know, the pile drivers and whatnot, if that wasn't all bad enough, he does the generico brainbuster. He does the haluva kick and the generico brainbuster in the corner, to win the match. Another fucking dangerous move. An absolutely phenomenal match with a great story, with incredible athleticism that had you on the edge of your seats, that had the crowd up on their feet. Just loving every moment of this. 5 stars. Like, this is a 5-star match. This is a match of the year contender without a shadow of a doubt. This is going to be on people's lists. This is absolutely tremendous stuff. Kyle Fletcher's most important match of his career, and he just nails it. Sure, he's with Will Ospreay, who is the greatest wrestler on earth right now, who, like, you know, could drag me to a 3.5-star match. You know, and by the way, they're real life buddies, they're pals, they're chums. So of course, you know, you have Will Ospreay doing everything to make this work so that Kyle looks good, but Ospreay can only go so far. Fletcher has to bring it as well, and Jesus Christ, did he ever bring it? And he wrestled like a big guy. He wrestled like a big dude, like a big heavyweight, not just like a guy, you know, doing flippy stuff and super acrobatic things. No, he came into this acting and wrestling like a top guy. I appreciated this so much. And he, like, this was his moment, and he grabbed it by the throat and he made it his. And what more do you want? Like, Tony is focused on making this guy a star. Well, this was the best step possible. And Fletcher, not being a complete moron, understood the implications of this match and what it meant, and he just completely went for it. He made the moment his own. I loved this match. Tremendous stuff. Like, there's not more you can add about Will Ospreay in wrestling commentary at this point that hasn't already been said, other than, by God, he's great every time. Like, he's great every single time. But Fletcher, just tremendous. Just tremendous. After the match, Mark Davis comes out to sort of carry Will Ospreay off. And again, Fletcher and Mark Davis don't get to blows, or at least Fletcher doesn't go after Mark Davis, right? Outside of the slap, didn't he slap Mark Davis in the multi-man match on last week's Dynamite? I think he slapped him, but other than that, he hasn't been like outly physical with Mark Davis. Mark Davis got to Fletcher and ground and pounded him after the slap, but they haven't been like fighting. Like up until now, it feels more just like brothers being mad at each other and having to, just take it out on each other because they're brothers, right? That's how it feels so far, as opposed to, pulling out nasty wrestling moves and like pinning them or whatever, doing tiger drivers or pile drivers, that kind of stuff. Absolutely phenomenal match. Like match of the night without any question. Like this is like, it's undeniable. A true to form match of the year contender. Just great stuff. Just a fantastic bit of business, a brilliant piece of business. I loved it. I loved the match. Another match I really liked was Jay White defeating Hangman Adam Page again. The match itself is phenomenal. Like it's a brilliant, when people talk about, oh, but it's a psychology, and psychology is usually like this bag in which you can stuff, things happening in matches that aren't really good. You can just say, well, it's psychology. You see the psychology of things. This is a psychology match. This was a psychology match. This is a match that if you've been paying attention to this feud over the past couple of weeks, you absolutely understand what was going on here, what was happening. Both guys come in, they both have vulnerabilities, and they're both like, we're going to use the vulnerabilities against the other guy. Like that was both guys' game plans, and that's what they stuck to through the entire match. The legs of both guys, Hangman, it's the hip or whatever the fuck. Look, it was tremendous. And the idea of working the limbs, but working them so specifically was great. But on top of that is that you have these guys countering each other as well. So not only do both guys want to focus on the other guy's limb, but they also know that the other guy is going to try and focus on the other guy's limb. So they're doing everything they can to avoid having their limb worked, and it's tremendous. This is the quintessential Jay White match. This is the kind of match that Jay White thrives in, where he counters out of stuff and he just lays little breadcrumbs throughout matches where it's just like, I'm going to come back to this, or I see what you're doing here, or I'm going to bait you into this. You can see like his mind working, right? Whereas a guy like Hangman Adam Page will always feel like more reactive, but nonetheless still effective because they're both doing it to each other. But Jay White in this type of match excels. And we've seen it multiple times when in New Japan, and particularly in his matches with Okada, where it turns out that the Blade Runner is the perfect counter to the Rainmaker. Like that was something that no one had ever pondered until Jay White figured it out. And then every time Okada fights Jay White for the title, you're like, well, is the Rainmaker going to work here? Because Jay just might slip into a Blade Runner and then knock Okada out and win the match. And they're doing it. And Jay White, and not Jay White, but Hangman is also avoiding, getting into trouble. He's also avoiding countering out of moves, and working the legs. But of course, Hangman's big offense is big moves. So he does a couple of dead eyes, right? And Jay White is kicking out of them. And they are in and out of finishers. This final stretch is just absolutely remarkable, where they're in and out of finishers. They're countering out of each other's big moves. And then Jay White just out of nowhere, lands the Blade Runner, gets the win again. It's just a remarkable piece of business. I love this match so much. It was so good. And again, and on top of this all, bold piece of booking. Another, like, a big, bold piece of booking on this show. Like, I would argue, just to backtrack a little bit, that Kyle Fletcher defeating Will Ospreay on this first try is a bold piece of booking. The follow-up has to be super important when it comes to Kyle, because you would have thought that, I think we had all pretty much imagined Kyle Fletcher getting the win by using the screwdriver or having Don Callis, do Don Callis things, whatever, like something to justify Will getting a rematch, going, you little punk, you weren't able to take me out on your own. You had to do the nonsense. Now, come back. Now we're going to run this again on my terms, kind of thing, right? I thought that was bold. So we're going to have to see how that transpires for Fletcher and Ospreay. Here, like they're out, the booking here is outright saying Jay White just has Adam Page's number. It's just as simple as that. He knows how to beat him. Page tried again, just can't get it done. He just can't get it done. Couldn't get it done in New Japan, can't get it done in AEW. And that's I love that kind of booking. And it's something you really you scarcely see anymore, where it's just people trading wins, and then you get the rubber match, and then they might go back at it later down the line, and but to have one guy hold a winning streak on another guy, you don't see that anymore. Everyone has to trade wins. So when we were going into the match, of course the Hangman fans are, tripping over themselves, saying he has to win, he's going to win, of course he's going to win. And I'm like, man, wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be kind of fun if we continued this? And I think, if I remember correctly in my preview, I conceded to Hangman. I was like, I think Jay White should win, right? Or did I don't remember what I said in my preview in that regard. But I'm pretty sure I brought that little nugget up. And at the very least, I said, well, Hangman's going to win, but Jay should continue. Like, that's actually the most interesting outcome. And we went with the most interesting outcome. We went with Jay White just completely owning the Hangman. And I think this is good. Like, this is stuff you can revisit anytime. Like, this is something, this is what we mean when we talk about sports-based storytelling. Just as simple as this. This one guy cannot beat the other guy. Every time they fight, the other guy always has a leg up on him. Every single time. That's what we mean. It's not, people sometimes seem to think the sports-based presentation, no, it's boring. It's just about wrestling and doing grappling, which is dumb in and about itself. But this is the kind of stuff that you can easily use and will be used to reignite, Hangman and whoever, right? Hangman and Jay White, actually, not Hangman and Jay White, not Hangman and whoever, but Hangman and Jay White. And if we did more of these sports-based presentation, these sports-based stories, they could all fit in at any given moment. You could just flip a switch and they'd be back. You wouldn't have to do War and Peace stories, right? I look, this was tremendous work. 4.5 stars for me out of 5, of course. I thought it was absolutely remarkable. We were in a really good stretch of great matches. Oh, and by the way, Hangman Adam Page attacked after the match, right? Oh, and I have one more note here that, Hangman had a counter for the Wrestle Dream finish, right? But didn't have another counter. But he didn't have the second counter ready. It's so good. It's so good. When wrestling is good, fucking good. Like I was saying, we were in a really good strip of matches here. We had, Jay White, Kyle Fletcher. But I feel like the moment the pay-per-view started to kick off, the moment where you're like, oh, okay, now we're getting into a groove. Now it's starting to sizzle. It was with Mercedes Moné retaining the TBS title against Chris Statlander. This was a great match. This was so much fun. An opponent that Mercedes could do Mercedes things with. Like, this is exactly what it was. And it starts off a little rough. We're not gonna sugarcoat it, but this starts off a little rough. It's a little sloppy. Statlander tries to do the stalling suplex, but it doesn't work out. She transitions into something else, and it's fine, but we often say here, we love ourselves some Mercedes Moné, but she will never be known as, a crisp professional wrestler. She's sloppy, but delightfully sloppy. And in her style, it works. Like, she's not a pinpoint precise pro wrestler. What she does always has that degree of it, but she most of the time makes it work. And here, like, Statlander's being a little sloppy as well at first. And I'm like, oh, okay. Then Mercedes does a run off the apron when she works Statlander on the floor, tries to get her counted out. And I'm like, okay. We're starting a little simmer here. Now we're starting a little simmer here. Then we start throwing Meteoras. Statlander counters one of the Meteoras into a buckle bomb, which was great. Pummels her and does a chaos theory. I'm like, oh boy. Now we're cooking. Now we got something. And a couple of real close near falls happen as well. Meteora by Mercedes Moné finally lands, and a backbreaker and a lariat by Statlander, who lands the Saturday Night Fever, but Moné kicks out. Moné does the Three Amigos and actually gets them done. When's the last time we've seen someone actually pull off the Three Amigos? Right? It had been a while. Like, it seems to me like every time someone does the Eddie Guerrero tribute and, does the thing and then picks up the person to do the Three Amigos, the last one always gets countered. Mercedes did all three here. And then, that was good. And then, Statlander catches Moné on her shoulders when she was flying off the top rope, I believe, and dumps her, gets another near fall. She does the 450 splash. She wipes out on it though. Mercedes then just starts going straight for the knee, starts wailing on it, does a 450, no, not a 450, a frog splash on the knees as well. And we have some more great near falls. We had this, I burst out laughing at how great this move looked. With the electric chair gourd buster, I guess. Statlander just has Moné on her shoulders and just flops her over like whomp, just flat on her face. And I burst out laughing at how great it was. Like, nothing fancy about it. Just a great, awesome power move. And then she sets her up, does flips her into a pile driver, which was really, really impressive. Moné, and she kicks out of Moné's shitty finisher, the money maker, right? Which is a shitty finisher. And then Mercedes has to win by doing a roll up thing, and where she chokes her, she throat shots her onto the ropes, and that allows her to roll her up for the win. Just a tremendous match. Like, this was really, really good. What was all the more important here, I think the most important thing that had to come out of this match was that Mercedes Moné had to have a great match. Because I think she's had a lot of really, really good matches in AEW, but she hadn't had a great match yet. And she got it. Like, she nailed it with this one. This was the great match with a capable opponent, someone who is super talented as well, and someone that Mercedes can really work well off of. Like, it turns out she's a great base for someone like Moné. Statlander is. She's a great base. She's fantastic. And they both shined in this. They both worked their asses off, and the match was tremendous. Great, just great action, great story. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I gave this 4.25 star. I was really happy when it happened, and a great match. And to circle back to a point I was making earlier, this build was absolute dog shit. Like, this was a match that I thought was complete and utter nonsense. What have I been saying in regards to Mercedes Moné ever since she joined AEW earlier this year? There's one thing that when they started doing vignettes and all sorts of bullshit, you know, because they didn't have her wrestle until, what was it, Double or Nothing, I think? You know, and she had been there since March. She was doing jack shit. And then she was doing the vignettes, and the vignettes were really heavy-handed. Let her wrestle. Let her wrestle. Mercedes Moné, Sasha Banks, she's one of the best wrestlers, women wrestlers in North America. And that's how she works. That's how she gets herself over. Put her in the ring, let her have great matches. That's all you need to do. That's what you need to do. And lo and behold, despite the absolute dog shit build that this match was, the end result is a great match. I don't know what else you want from me. I don't know what else, what you need. I don't know what more you need to convince you that this is all you need to do, really. You know, I know Jennifer Pepperman and whoever else works on the segments need to justify their jobs, right? They need to do the creative stuff. But when it all boils down to it, this is what we need. And I think this match could have been hotter. This is the thing, that the match could have felt bigger and hotter had the build not been utter trash. Because it was terrible. You know, between the going through drywall and this, you know, the car thing and the bickering with Camille and that here, I was fully expecting. This was a match here that I was fully expecting interference in, right? Not unlike the, you know, like in Kyle Fletcher versus Will Ospreay. Clean as a sheet. I was expecting Don Callis to get involved, but no. Kyle beat Will. Clean as a sheet. No asterisks, nothing. Same thing here. I thought Camille was going to run down to the ring and do something to redeem herself in the eyes of Mercedes Moné. Nothing. Clean as a sheet. And this was all great. So it goes to 2 points that I've been making in this review. You let Mercedes Moné do what she does best. You let her go out there and have great matches, and you know, don't try to overcomplexify builds to try and make them cutesy and whatnot, because sometimes it just falls on you. It falls flat on your face, and you're keeping matches from feeling hotter than they should be. And goes to the larger point, because I said there were 2 points, goes to the larger point of letting your talent go out there and do professional wrestling things. And AEW is better for it. Everything, like these matches that we saw, this one here, and especially Fletcher and Ospreay, WWE can't do that. WWE cannot do that. They won't. It's just not who they are. It's not what they deliver. This is how they stay different. This is how they differentiate themselves. It's tremendous stuff. I was really into it. 4.25 stars. I said that already. MJF defeated Roderick Strong. Yeah, I gave this 3.25 star. I don't know. I thought the work was good. I thought it was a pretty good match. You know, I thought it was a pretty good match. I enjoyed it. It was, you know, nothing that blew me away, but it was quite solid, very solid. I don't have many thoughts in this match here, but you know, like the crowd early on was into it. You know, they were chanting for MJF. They were chanting for Roddy. They, you know, a lot of signature Roderick Strong offense, the backbreakers and the chops, early on, Max's chest is complete. It's like glowing red, right? But I like the finish. I thought the finish was a lot of fun. MJF gets the salt of the earth in, kind of out of nowhere for the win. I thought that was tremendous. I thought that was actually really good. But yeah, again, I'm not clamoring to the heavens, that this was a great match. But this is a good little match that warmed us up properly. After the match, MJF Pillmanizes Roderick Strong's arm. After that, Adam Cole runs out. Why didn't he run out before to prevent the Pillmanizing? Well, he was probably on his switch. Give him a break. And then Kyle O'Reilly arrives, and he sort of shakes up Adam Cole and is like, "Look, I told you this was going to happen," kind of thing. It's like, all right, fine. And then Adam Cole again is looking conflicted. Like that's how he's been finishing every segment since he's been back, I think. Looking conflicted. I think that's his default mode. It's like looking conflicted. And then the show opened up with the World Tag Team 4-way match where Private Party retained their titles against the Kings of the Black Throne, the Acclaimed, and the Outrunners. I think I said earlier on that, and I apologize for this. I said Daniel Garcia and Jack Perry, I thought was the worst match of the show at 2 3/4 stars, right? Actually, I thought this was the worst match of the show. 2.5 stars for me on this one. I thought it was extremely sloppy and was focused a lot on the story of the Acclaim splitting. Just get it over with. I cannot put over enough the idea of Anthony Bowens joining the Hurt Business. I think that would be tremendous for him. I wasn't really into this. And look, out of these 4 teams, right? You have the Kings of the Black Throne, who are absolutely like the coolest team here. And the match really did reach its highs when Brody was throwing dudes around and Malachi was doing Malachi thing. Like that was significant. But who was the second coolest team here? That's the Outrunners, who are supposed to be geeks. They're supposed to be like, the comedy act. But they're the second coolest team in this match, right? And Private Party's entrance was so incredibly try-hard. We're back to the try-hard stuff. I thought they had stopped using the shots theme and the entrance with the security dude and the velvet rope thing, because they were a serious tag team now. Now, like 2 weeks after, 3 weeks after winning the title after being a serious tag team, we're back to being we're back to being, whatever this was. Got all the girls there with the fucking glow sticks and honestly looked low rent, looked very cheap, looked very low rent. I don't know who okayed this. Anyway, I thought this was rather sloppy. And then of course, because I don't have many notes on the match aside from this, like there's this nonsense, right, where, and I think this is going to be a sticking point for everyone. There's this nonsense where Bowens and Caster, right, like they're kind of at odds or whatever the fuck. And at some point, Caster tells Bowens, "Pin me." So he lies on his back because it's a 4-way, right? It's a 4-way match. But I was like, and commentary. So I'm trying to say too many things at once. So Caster lies on his back and he tells Bowen, "Pin me, pin me. Let's get this over with." And Bowens sort of shrugs, and as he's shrugging, I'm thinking, and commentary is saying my thoughts out loud. Well, you can't pin your partner. That doesn't make sense. But he pins him, and Rick Knox counts the pinfall, and someone comes in and breaks it up. And I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, I understand that Rick Knox is a bad referee. And I was talking about it yesterday. I was like, no, it's kayfabe, kayfabe. Well, maybe it's not all that kayfabe. He's a bad referee. He's a bad ref. Like, this was bad. This was, you don't do this. Like, this is dumb. And then what makes it even dumber is that later on, Knox becomes a stickler for the legal man, right? When he doesn't want to count a pin because it's Caster who's the legal man and not Bowen, so he's not counting the pin. Oh my God, this is all such fucking nonsense. It's such a bad match. All sorts of shit that just annoyed me. You know, thank God the Kings of the Black Throne were in this, but they disappeared pretty quickly. This was all like junior level stuff, and I just split the Acclaim. I'm really hoping. Here's the one thing that I'm slightly not excited about in regards to the Acclaimed, is that now I feel like they're leaning so hard into the idea that they're going to be splitting that it might end up being a swerve and they don't split up at all. And that, my friends, will annoy me to the umpteenth degree. What about the 0 hour? What about the 0 hour? I'm glad you asked about the 0 hour. Anna Jay defeated Deonna Purrazzo. I don't have many thoughts about these matches, by the way. Anna Jay defeated Deonna Purrazzo. That was fine. That was fine. Clearly, they're giving a little pushy push to Anna Jay, which is all right. Buddy Matthews defeated Dante Martin, Commander, and the Beast Mortos. And when they were bringing these dudes out, was this announced? I don't even think this was announced, right? And they were like, they started the match like Dante Martin. Oh, okay, so they'll probably have Commander in here. You know, it's like Commander comes out next. Oh, that's pretty good. Beast Mortos. I'm like, holy shit. Okay. And Buddy Matthews. I'm like, oh hell yeah. Oh, now you have my attention. And this was fun. This was a fun pre-show match. Buddy Matthews somehow was super over with the crowd. People were chanting his name, so he went and did his singles thing, and it was a lot of fun. It was a good match. I enjoyed it. It was fun. And then the Costco guy, Big Boom AJ, defeated QT Marshall. We even had Paul White here coming out with the Rizzler, because you want the tallest guy possible with the tiniest little guy possible to be together. You know what? It was a good match. And anyone who says that this was not a good match is absolutely bad faith. Look, here's the thing, is that this guy, Big Boom AJ, former pro wrestler, maybe hasn't done it in a while, but he nailed everything perfectly. Like, this guy can go. And like I said on the preview, putting him in there with QT Marshall to just guide through things, make things happen. You couldn't have had a better opponent for all of this to work and connect and just come together. This was really good. It was really good. It was a lot of fun, smartly put together. He even had Big Justice, the kid. They had Big Justice do a spear on. Was it Aaron Solo who just like decided to come out of nowhere? Yeah, I think it was Aaron Solo. Anyway, the kid did a spear. The kid has a better spear than Charlotte Flair. And as expected, the Costco guy gets the win. And what do you want? I mean, this was fun. This was fun. And I'm sure. Look, if you've been on my streams recently, you know how annoyed I am with the Costco guys. And this had nothing to do with their content, their usual TikTok content, which I think is trash. I don't understand. I don't even understand what people see in this. I don't know why people enjoy this, right? It's not for me. And but in and about itself, I look at the match and I'm like, this is pretty good. This is fun, actually. I enjoyed myself. And never once in the build to this pay-per-view did I say, oh, this match is going to suck. This match is going to be awful. I was giving Costco guy a lot of leeway. I was like, look, he's a former pro wrestler and he's in there with QT Marshall. Like, I saw everything coming together to deliver like a neat little pre-show match, right? And that's what we got. And that was never the issue, and still is not the issue that I have with the Costco guys. I think their TikTok content is brain rot. I don't know what the entertainment value is in seeing, pulling out your phone, holding, watching it, and then doing their little dances and this kind of junk. 'Cause it's junk. We don't have to mince words. It's junk. Oh, they got millions of views. It's still junk. Just because people watch it a lot doesn't mean it's good. Sorry to say. Junk. You want to talk about views? Here's the thing. As I'm recording this again, like on November 24, okay? And we're doing this in the morning. I'm looking at the YouTube views for the 0 hour, AEW Full Gear 0 hour, and they are currently at 339,000 views. All right? But you'd say, that seems like a lot. But you would expect like a boost, right? You'd expect like a real deal kind of boost to make this, like, because these guys get millions of views. We didn't get the millions of views on the pre-show. I mean, we didn't get even as many views as the 0 hour Forbidden Door pre-show from earlier this year, which stands at 350,000. We didn't even get, we're currently at about half the amount of views that we got for the AEW World's End show that happened like a year ago for the 0 hour, which stands at 611,000 views. So, everyone who keeps saying, it's like, oh, these are going to be new viewers. These are going to be new, we're bringing in new people, new eyeballs on the product. Like, are we? Are we really? Because I'm not seeing the big boost here. I mean, it's higher than recent 0 hours. Look, I mean, the Wrestle Dream 0 hour, 236,000 views. Sure, okay. I'm not going to say that they won't have any impact at all. What I'm saying is this huge impact that everyone was predicting. That's saying like, oh, these guys have millions of views on TikTok, and so we're going to convert new eyeball. I haven't seen it. Now, if we get hundreds of thousands of new pay-per-view buys, then I'm going to be, oh, there's the Costco guy effect. I'm excited to see if we're going to be talking about the Costco guy effect. Because right now, I ain't seeing the Costco guy effect. And I legitimately don't, and I talked about this on the streams, which you should come and check out at some point when you can on the YouTube channel at MrWarrenHayes. We'd love to have you. But we talked about this on stream. I don't see how people consuming TikTok are suddenly going to dish out $50, $60 or whatever to watch an AEW pay-per-view because the Costco guy was on the free show. I don't quite get it. I really don't quite get it. But anyway, if there's anything notable to revisit here when it comes to the Costco guys and their impact on AEW wrestling, we will talk about it, but we're done for now. We've covered the entire show of AEW Full Gear 2024. Again, a show I thought was very good. There's a lot of stuff to like on this show, much more than there is to dislike. And the matches that hit highs hit really high. It's a really good show. And I think in some spots, even over-delivered. Clean finishes overall, no nonsense, bold booking decisions. Again, a really good show. You can't go wrong with it. Is it one of the greatest? No. But again, like when the bar is so high when it comes to the greatest shows that AEW puts on, I mean, it's a hard act to follow, but this is absolutely a tremendous show. So there you have it, AEW Full Gear 2024. Those were my thoughts. That's my review.